Welcome to session number 3, Managing Your Time. In 1982-83, when I started doing the action workshops around the United States and Canada, what I did is on day 1, I would spend from virtually 9 o'clock until 4 o'clock on time management. And the reason I did that is because, as I'm sure a lot of you know, time management is, without a doubt, the number one problem facing every real estate salesperson, with very few exceptions. Now, I'm not sure I know exactly the reason why it's such a huge problem. I have identified a couple which I'll share with you, but it is the problem. And after doing it virtually 6 to 7 hours a day, virtually every couple weeks for real estate people, I determined the more I talked about it, the bigger the problem actually was. So what I did then is I made a complete switch in the early 1990s, and in the action workshop, I would spend virtually 30 to 40 minutes on time management, give them everything that I thought was appropriate, like I'm going to do with you guys and gals today, and then let you take it and run to do the best you can. There's no question that the problem with time management has always been the major problem. As you may have heard me say in the past, the average agent is getting ready to get going, to begin to get moving, to do something maybe tomorrow, if they have the time, provided nothing, of course, interrupts them and gets in their way. So it's just a huge problem. So I wrote down this thought. The number one problem among agents is time management, and it's a problem because, A, we're independent contractors, and that's, of course, the major problem. There are very few industries, as you know, where people can operate the way we do in real estate, meaning that we can do what we want when we want, and if we don't do anything, it's okay. You may have heard me say in the past that real estate is probably the only business I know of where it's almost impossible to get fired. And the reason for that is because we're independent contractors. See, in real estate, you don't get fired if you don't prospect every day. You don't get fired if you don't go out and take listings. You don't get fired if you don't make sales. You don't get fired if you don't make money. My standard joke is if you don't do enough of those things for a long enough period of time, they'll probably put you in management of some real estate companies. Managers don't seem to like that as much as the agents do. But this independent contractor theory that we operate under, this umbrella that we have, is probably the biggest detriment to you and I operating at the level that we could operate at in terms of success. Why? Because, see, the truth is, we can't tell you what to do as independent contractors. We can't say to you, you will do it this way, period. We can't say to you, you will be at the office at 8 o'clock in the morning. You will do your role play from 8 to 8:30. You'll answer calls from 8:30 to 9. You'll prospect from 9 until noon. You'll take lunch from 12 to 1. You see, we can't do that because we're independent contractors, and if we do that, you'll say to us, wait a minute, you can't tell me what to do. See, there's two issues being an independent contractor. We can't tell you what to do. We can't tell you what to say. As a result, too many agents do nothing and say nothing of value. I did some work for a small real estate company several years ago, and the guy, the owner of the company, really bought into the Mike Ferry system of selling real estate. Now, he did some things which we don't recommend. For example, after attending our management retreat for 3 days, he went back that afternoon on day number 3, and he had 12 salespeople, and he fired all 12 on the spot. I mean, they were all gone, just like that. Then he puts an ad in the paper, and I'll listen to what the guy did. Real estate salespeople wanted guaranteed salary. I think it was $30,000 a year guaranteed salary plus commission. Okay, please call to apply. I think he had 450 calls within 24 hours of the ad breaking in the local paper. He had to call the paper, cancel the ad because there was too many calls. He had 450 appointments set up. I mean, virtually every 10 minutes he was doing an appointment with somebody because at $30,000 a year salary plus commission, the world lined up. The problem was he had very stated standards that you would have to work at to qualify to take the job in his company. And one of them was you had to follow the schedule he gave verbatim. And the schedule, which I'll cover in just a minute with you, was very simple. You had to report at a certain time, do certain things, go home at a certain time. You had to prospect at a certain time. As he told this to the agents, nobody would take the job. The agents all said, we're not going to do that. You can't make us do that. We are independent contractors. He said, no, if you work for me, you're an employee. You will do what I say or you can't have your salary plus commission. The way he had it designed, guys and gals, if a person was selling 15, 20 homes a year, they'd make $150,000 a year. It was a great program for an agent because they would learn how to work based on managing their time. Because, see, the truth is, as long as we're independent and can't be told what to do, unfortunately, our mindset doesn't let us do what we are told. So the first reason why it's a problem is we're independent contractors. Second, there's just not enough accountability in our business. Unfortunately, there's just not enough accountability. In 1989, I was attending a convention, speaking at a convention, and the next room at this convention was a fellow speaking on financial planning. And I went over to introduce myself to the guy, and he seemed like a real nice fellow, very well dressed, very articulate. And I said to him, I said, well, you know, I'm a little concerned for you today. And he said, why? I said, well, I'm speaking on some topic for real estate, and you're speaking on financial planning. And quite honestly, I can't imagine a lot of people coming to see somebody speak on financial planning and real estate because real estate people don't deal with money well. He said, well, I'll see what happens. Well, we had 2 sessions back to back, and I was lucky. I had 400 or 500 people at each session. Days all done, I walked over and saw him. He had like 8 people at his session. And I said, gosh, I'm sorry that happens. He goes, well, it's no big deal. So I said, so what exactly do you do for a living? Now listen to what this guy did. He said, well, Mike, what I do is I bring an individual or a couple into my office, and I help them prepare their financial future. I said, well, how do you do that? He said, well, it starts with managing your time. And I thought, well, that's not going to work for real estate people right off the bat, and that was obvious by the results he had. He said, we fill out a schedule of everything they're doing financially. And we make it very simple, very clear. And then we set goals for 1 year, 3 year, 5 years. And then we write a plan to support those goals. And we have a schedule they follow. And then once a month or so, I call them and see how they're doing. And as long as they follow the schedule, in 3 to 5 years, their financial picture is dramatically improved. I said, wow, what a great idea. And I said, what do you charge for that? He said, I think I charged, it was $3,500 a year to do this for a person. I said, well, do you actually have many people you do it for? He said, well, I have 12,000 people I'm doing it for right now. Well, watch, 12,000 times 3,500 tells me this guy was making $45, $50 million a year based on helping people set a money schedule, what to do with it when you got it, so they could live their life better. He said to me, why don't you do this for real estate people? So I created a program called Business Planning. And it was simply a program where we would help an agent write a goal for what they wanted to do, write a plan, hold them accountable to it. But the biggest part of our program, Business Planning, based on the fact they had to have a schedule that they would follow, and we'd hold them accountable to that schedule. So we had these business planners that worked for me, and they would call you every other week and talk to you for 15 or 20 minutes and keep you on your schedule. Well, here was the challenge. We could bring people in all day long into this program, and they would last in place from 90 to 180 days, and they would quit because they couldn't stand the fact that somebody was holding them accountable to following the schedule they set. Now think about this. You set a schedule to sell 25, 50, 75 homes. You create a schedule to make that happen. You give me a copy of it, and you say to me, Mike, hold me accountable to it. And I call you once a week, and I say, okay, are you doing this, this, and this? And you say no, and I say, why not? After so many calls like that, you're going to get mad and drop out because people don't want to be held accountable. Why is time management a problem? There's a lack of accountability in our business. The third thing, of course, that I wrote down as to why time management is a problem is because it's not taught in this business. I mean, let's face it. How much teaching have you had about scheduling your time so you can become a profitable and productive real estate salesperson? And the answer is very little. There's very little teaching being done. This little 30, 35-minute program today with you is probably as much as you're going to get in most cases. So we have to first accept the fact that we have a problem in time management. Meaning, now listen carefully, most of us aren't maximizing how much we get out of each hour of each day. We're just not doing it. So I wrote down, to manage your time more effectively revolves around one very basic premise. You have to learn to treat what you're doing as if you had a real job. Treat what you're doing as if you had a real job. Do you remember when you had a real job, if you ever had one? And I know a lot of you that are watching this program had a real job. You know, in a real job, you know, you had to, for example, be at work at a certain time, and there were no excuses. You didn't show up when you felt like it, okay? There were certain responsibilities while you were there that you had to follow, and if you didn't follow them, of course, you were terminated or fired. You took your break or lunch at a certain time because that's the way things were done in a real job. And then you were asked to go home at a certain time because that's, again, how a real job operates. Well, you see, you go into real estate, and none of those things apply. None of the basic premises of a real job apply to the real estate industry. Now, here's the interesting conflict of interest that you and I face as real estate people. Your customers and your prospects think that you have a real job. See, they think you work just like anybody else in a real business works. They think you show up at 8 o'clock in the morning and that you do certain things until noon and you go to lunch. And then you come back and you do certain things all afternoon, part of which is, of course, trying to either find them a home or get their home sold. And then you go home at a certain time. Can you imagine if your customers actually hired a private detective and they followed you around for a couple of weeks and they saw what you really did, which in so many cases, don't get mad, is almost nothing, but play the great shuffle game of shuffling things from one side of your desk to the other and playing on your computer all day long and talking to each other and drinking coffee and eating donuts and previewing a couple of houses and going to lunch? That's not a real job. Hey, no wonder why the ladies and gentlemen of real estate don't get paid on a regular basis. They don't deserve to be paid based upon the activities on the schedule, which most of the time is like this, blank. So to manage your time more effectively, you have to take on the attitude, the mindset, and the behaviors as if you had a real job. Now, let me give you an example of that. Let me go over to the whiteboard for just a minute and show you an example of scheduling. When I went into real estate, the first decision I made was that I wanted to match the income that I had at my previous job. And I had an income at that time, now this was the early 1970s, of $75,000 a year is what I was being paid on my job. So I said, okay, how do I produce $75,000 a year in income? Because I want to create a schedule managing my time as if I had a real job. So I said, well, first of all, how many sales do I have to make? How many listings do I have to take? How many closings do I have to accomplish to meet this number up here? And then I said, okay, how many appointments do I have to go on? Makes sense. How many leads would I have to generate to make this happen? How many hours would I have to spend prospecting? And how many contacts would I have to make? So I actually sat down and went through this exercise and said, okay, I have to do blank, 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 et cetera, for me to accomplish this goal. Now, when I started, this is embarrassing to tell you this, when I started in real estate, my average commission was about $300 per house. To make $75,000, $80,000, you had to sell a lot of houses. So I said, okay, if I know what these numbers are, and I knew what the numbers were, it was very apparent, and it was very easy to calculate, I said the next thing I have to do then is I have to create a schedule that would allow me to make that happen. So I said, all right, what days am I going to work if I'm going to manage my time? I made the decision I would work on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. That was the days I decided I would work. I was not going to work Thursdays and Sundays. Now, some of you will say, you know, Mike, real estate's a 7-day-a-week job. It is if you're not going to work on the rest of the days. See, my belief was always the same. The reason real estate people don't take days off is they feel guilty. And why do they feel guilty? Because they didn't work on their days on. If you work on your days on, you can take days off. Well, Mike, you took Sundays off. I said, that's correct. Well, that's one of the busiest days in real estate. I said, for what? Well, that's when we hold open house. I said, believe me, I'm not going to hold an open house. That's not going to happen to me. Now, if you ever take a real careful look in your marketplace, in your community, I'd be willing to bet you right now that there's less homes sold on Sunday than any other day of the week. Now, here's what's interesting. Take the activity that produces the worst results in open house and put it on the worst day of the week in real estate Sunday, and guess what you have? A loser. That's what you have. So I decided I would work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. And then I set a goal, remember appointments, that I wanted to have 2 appointments every day that I worked. Now, I was a brand new agent. I didn't know anything, but I thought, well, it made sense to set up 2 appointments a day. And on Saturday, I could have 3 to 4 appointments. So I'm going 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I could have 12 appointments a week, 48 appointments a month. Now watch, brand new licensee. No training in real estate, and I'm thinking that I know what I'm doing. And my goal to start was 48 appointments a month. Now, I want to tell you, guys and gals, in my first years in real estate, I don't think I ever had a month where I had 48 appointments. But I never had a month when I did less than 26 transactions. Do you hear that number, 26 transactions? Can I tell you how that happened? Because I was running 30 to 35 appointments a month. Why was I getting 30 to 35 appointments a month? Because I set up my entire day, every day, based on the fact that my only goal was to get appointments every day. So here's a question for you. When's the last time you treated what you do as a real job and had a specific goal to get appointments every single day that you're in real estate? Because see, my belief is you can get appointments every day in real estate. Why do I believe that? Because there are people in your town who are going to list their home for sale today and or buy a home today. The question is, are they going to call you? The answer is no. You have to go call them. So I said, okay, if I want to get 2 appointments every day, how am I going to do that? So then I created a very simple schedule that I wrote out in detail, and then I just virtually every day would check off the various things as I did it. I arrived at the office at 7 a.m. every morning. Now, as soon as I say that, people watching this program say, 7 o'clock? What's the matter with you? I don't even get up until 8. Well, that means I'd beat you to the office, wouldn't it? Trust me when I tell you. There was never a crowd at the office at 7 o'clock in the morning, okay? From 7 until 9 o'clock, I had a whole series of events that I did every day. I could always write thank you notes to people I met before. I could check on all my files to make sure my files were up to date. I could cut all the for sale by owners out of the newspaper. I could check the expired listing list. I could actually call people for appointments before they went to work for the day. So from 7 to 9, I was busy, and then I would practice and I would role play the scripts I was going to use when I prospected. At 9 o'clock every day, I left the office, and I prospected from 9 o'clock until 12 every day. I prospected 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. That was my job. That's all I did. Usually around 10 o'clock, 10:30, I would take a little break, call the office, check messages. 12 to 1, I had lunch like the rest of the world does. I would never eat with the agents in the office because they weren't going to buy a home from me. 1 o'clock till 1:30, I returned phone calls every day. 1:30 until 2 o'clock, I did any pre-qualifying and lead follow-up. 2 o'clock until 2:30, I went ahead, did any administrative work that had to be done. And then, if you can picture this, from 3 o'clock on, I either went on appointments, because I tried to have 2 every day, or I continued to prospect. So you can see that my day was lined up in a way that had only one target, to get 2 appointments a day. See, every single thing I did from the moment I started to the moment I quit was to try to get 2 appointments a day. So here's a question. Is that more of a real job approach than what you're taking? Well, Mike, I don't want to sell that many homes. I don't want that many appointments. Fine. So treat what you're doing as if it were a real job that would allow you to get the appointments you need to achieve the goals you set. See, it really is not very complicated, okay? So here's what I want you to think about. I knew that the priorities that I had in real estate revolved around prospecting, pre-qualifying, lead follow-up, going on presentations, which were critical, obviously, and then the administrative work to support those listings and sales I was making. So what I want you to think about is this. Treat what you do as a real job, create a schedule that makes sense, but then really identify what the priorities are that you need to have to make you accomplish the goals you've set. Now let's do it, be honest here. If your goal is to sell 1 home a month, how much time management do you really need? And the answer is none. If your goal is to do a listing every other month, how much schedule do you need? The answer is none. If your goal, which I think it should be, which to make yourself sell in high volume, is to sell 25, 50, 75, 100, 150, 200 homes a year, which I know you could do if you follow the advice we give you. If your goal is to go to the big numbers in high volume over the next 12, 18 months, 24 months, 36 months, which we know you can do, then time management becomes a critical aspect. So identifying your priorities became a very important part of my business. My priorities were simple. I had to make sure I returned the phone calls. I had to make sure I got a hold of the buy owners and expireds. I had to set appointments every day. I had to prospect. I had to do my lead follow-up and pre-qualify. I had to go on presentations. See, I wrote them down. I wrote them onto my schedule, checked them off each day as I did them, and I tried not to stray from my schedule. So rule number 1, treat what you do as if it were a real job. Rule number 2, identify your priorities. Rule number 3, never, never, never let anybody, anything take you off your schedule. Now, That sounds a little fanatical, but I think as you work with me further, you're going to discover that I'm very fanatical. Watch tape number 1, we had to make some decisions. Tape number 2, we had to take a test. Tape number 3, we're talking about time management. If you haven't caught on that I'm fanatical, guess what? You're going to catch on that I'm fanatical. Because I am fanatical about the fact that once I set a schedule, I could not let anybody take me off that schedule. Watch this example. 10:30 in the morning, I would call the office and check for messages. And let's say I had a message that Mrs. Smith called off one of my signs. So I'd call Mrs. Smith back at 10:31. Hi, Mrs. Smith, this is Mike Ferry. Thanks for calling my sign. Can I help you? Yes, my husband Harold and I, we want to see that property right now. Can we? Fine. What time at 5 o'clock can I show it to you? No. We want to see it right now. Mrs. Smith, I'm booked solid. I've got my schedule out. I'm booked solid till 5 o'clock. Would 5 o'clock or 5:30 be best? Well, if you can't show it to us right now, we'll call somebody else. Well, have a great day, Mrs. Smith. Bye-bye. See, I would not break my schedule to run and show property. I wouldn't break my schedule to run a list of home. Here's a question. Who's controlling your schedule? You or your prospects and clients? So therefore, once you get priorities and once you set a schedule, then you stay with that schedule at all costs. Okay? Now, if you remember in our very first session called Making a Decision, we talked about personal motivation and the fact that you had to have something driving you, motivating you to move forward in your business. Well, under time management, I wrote down this thought. A lack of personal motivation always creates a time management problem. If you don't have to do something, you generally won't. Now watch. A lack of personal motivation always creates a time management problem. If you don't have to do something. See, I had to do that. That was my schedule. It was locked in. It was pre-printed. I used to set it weeks in advance. I knew that all my appointments would be, say, at 4:30 and 5:30 in the afternoon. I knew I prospected from 9 to noon. It was locked in. I wouldn't change it. My motivation was to make the money that I was making before I went into real estate. I had to make that money because I had a wife and a child, and I had Matthew and Tom, and Michelle was on the way. I had no choice. I had to earn the money. We had a home and a car, and we had a life. What's your motivation? Because your motivation determines your ability to manage your time and follow your schedule. So I wrote down key point, okay? Either I control my time and my schedule, or somebody else does. And see, I made it a very, very strong policy in my own head. Nobody was going to control my schedule. Nobody was going to take me off of what I wanted to accomplish and do. Nobody was going to say to me, hey, Mike, stop what you're doing and come over here real fast. I actually got into a little bit of a battle with my real estate broker, who was a very close friend of mine, because the sales meetings that our manager had went from like 9 o'clock to 10:30. And I said, if you're going to have me come to your sales meetings, they have to be before 9 o'clock because that's when I prospect. And then I wouldn't go on the company caravan because I thought it was a waste of time. And I wouldn't attend the board meetings because I thought it was a waste of time. I thought sales meetings were critically important, but not in the middle of the day. I had things to do. So therefore, either you're going to control your time or they're going to control your time, whoever they are. You know who controls your time most of the time? A prospect that calls. We respond, we react to an ad call, a sign call, a prospect calls. We jump, we run, we holler, oh my goodness, oh my gosh. See, that is never going to allow you to accomplish the goals you've set, okay? Now, once you understand some of these basic principles, treat your business as a real job, make your priorities, understand a lack of motivation keeps you from accomplishing what you want. You have to have your schedule in place with your priorities, as we showed you on the whiteboard. You control your time. Once you've gone through that process in your head, and once you start to understand those principles, then the next thing becomes critical. You have to virtually publish, I know this sounds strange to you, you have to virtually publish your schedule. Okay? Here's what I mean. Your schedule has to be public. Your manager, your broker, if you have an assistant, your assistant, your wife, your children, everybody has to be able to see it, have access to it, and you have to give everybody permission to remind you to stay on it. See, I knew that if I didn't follow my schedule, since I had it posted at the house for the wife and kids to see, and I gave a copy to my manager, George, I knew that if I didn't follow the schedule and I walked in at 9:30 with nothing to do, George would say, wait a minute, look at your schedule. You're supposed to be prospecting from 9 to 12. See, I not only published it and posted it, I also gave everybody permission to critique me and to make me follow it. If you're not following your schedule, lack of accountability, you're not going to accomplish the things that you want. Now, here's an interesting thought for you, okay? I really believe that in real estate, your day is comprised of three parts, okay? What I would call the morning routine, and that's what you do from the time you get up until around noon. I happen to believe, for a real estate person, that's the most important time of the day. From the time you get up until about noon. Then I call what I call the early afternoon routine, and that's what you do from basically 12 o'clock until 3. And then I will call what the third part is what I call presentation time, and that's what you do from 3 o'clock into the time you go home. Now, if you take a look at your day that way, morning routine, what time do you get up? Do you get up at the same time all the time? Do you exercise a little bit, stretch a little bit, read a little bit, meditate a little bit, do some affirmations, do some role play, get to the office on time, get your work done in the office, get out on the street and prospect? Morning routine, okay? Obviously, early afternoon routine. What do you do from 12 to 3? Here's what's fun. In the mid-90s, when we started doing the one-on-one coaching, the biggest challenge we had with all of our one-on-ones was what they would do from 12 o'clock till 3. Because, see, I got them all convinced to be in the office at 7:30. I got them convinced to make sure they returned their phone calls and did their role play and practice and cut the banners out of the newspaper and write their thank you notes and do their administration. And I got them all convinced to be out on the street by 8:45. And from basically 9 o'clock until noon, they all prospected, banners expired, past client centers of influence. They did all those things they're supposed to do. They'd come back at noon, have a bite to eat at 1 o'clock. They didn't know what to do. And they were at a loss. So we had to create a schedule for the afternoon. Lead follow-up, pre-qualifying, administrative work, returning phone calls. I want you just to close your eyes. And I want you to think, if you had a schedule like this and you followed it every day, what would happen to your production? You would become a high-volume real estate agent, I guarantee it every time. And see, there's no reason why you can't take your day and make it work like this. See, of the three parts to the day, as I stated, the most important part of the day is what you do from the time you get up until noon. Why? Because that sets the tone or the pace for what's going to happen all day long. You know, if you wake up real late and you've overslept and you ate too much the night before, you drank too much and you're sluggish and you missed your exercise and you come staggering in the office around 9:30, 10 o'clock and you need a cup of coffee to stop the shakes and you eat a couple of donuts, then you feel lousy, now it's 11 o'clock. See, guess what? In a real job, you'd be fired for that. But in real estate, we can get away with it. So the critical thing is, what do you do from 7 o'clock until noon to start the day? See, my belief is this. There's nothing in life that should stop you from accomplishing what's on your schedule during that period of time. Now, as I said, if that time from getting up to noon is critical, the afternoon should be filled with, as I said, lead follow-up, pre-qualifying, preparing for your appointments, okay, which is important, doing any other lead follow-up that you have to do because there's leads coming in all the time, obviously administrative work, taking care of your files. And then if nothing else happens during that time, you keep on prospecting, okay? So I had a person, before we started doing this series with you guys and gals, say to me the following, okay? I've got the schedule. I've written it out. Mike, I'm trying real hard. I'm practicing. I'm role-playing. I'm doing all the things. And it's still not working for me. And I said, well, there's a couple things here which are real important. I think number one, and you recognize this, that setting a schedule is creating a new habit. New habits do not come easily. Habits are formed because of repetitious involvement. The more you're involved in the habit of setting a schedule and following it, the stronger the habit becomes, easier it is for you to do, and the better chance you have. So part of this whole process that we have to look at is getting into the habit of doing what you're supposed to do. So I said to this guy, are you in the habit? He said, yes, I'm in the habit. I said, okay. Here's the second thing that happens on why what we're teaching is not going to work. If you aren't real clear as to what your goals are and what your motivation is and what you want to accomplish, if you're not real clear as to exactly what you want to have happen, guess what? It's probably not going to happen. If you ever come to my office in Newport Beach, California, sitting at my desk on my right, I have a little board on the wall, and there's a picture of a boat that Sabrina and I are buying, because it's a goal we've had for about a year. Below that picture are 6 3x5 cards with the 6 business goals that I've written for the company for the year. I look at those every day. And then the last card has a 5-year goal that I want to accomplish with my business. And that 5-year goal, I'm going to tell you, is so exciting to me that I can't stand it. I mean, I wish I could accomplish it today. I know it's going to take me 5 years. So the clearer the picture is in your mind of what you want to accomplish, the better chance you have of staying on your schedule. The motivation to achieve, the desire to achieve, the motivation to have and do and be has to be the driving force to give you the discipline to stay on the schedule. Okay? And if you just understand that following your schedule is simply a habit, like any other habit you have in life, then you can understand how all this works. You can see why, with almost all of these programs we're working on together, you have to watch this particular segment time and time again. So there's 2 last thoughts on time management. So instead of talking for 6 hours, as you can see, I'm only talking to you for a matter of minutes here. The first thing I want to say to you, remember that the schedule you set has to be designed around you, your life, and your goals. I used to go through the whiteboard and lay out the entire schedule for a week of what I used to do. Then all the agents in the class would write it all down. Then they'd call me and say, your schedule didn't work. I'd say, well, no, my schedule worked fine for me. It didn't work for you because it's not your schedule. Because, see, my goal was to sell X and your goal was to sell Y. You don't need to do what's on my schedule for you to sell what you have to sell. See, your schedule has to be based upon what you want to accomplish in your business and what you want to accomplish in your life. And then the last thing I would say to you, if we know that 25% of all the people we talk to are analytical in their style of thinking, if I can convince the analyticals and the drivers and amiables and expressives to keep what they're doing simple, then I believe we can accomplish a lot. The simpler you keep what you do, the better chance you have. You've got to create a simple schedule with simple goals. Because the more complicated you make your time management system, the less chance you have of following it. I am so excited to know that each of you, if you choose to, because of our time together in this small program, can make some big strides in your time management. To help you become the person you say you want to become, to accomplish the goals you say you want to go accomplish and go to, and most importantly, become the high producer that I know you can become. I want you to go back and listen to this material time and time again. I want you to apply it, make it work, knowing it's going to take time to change the habit. But it's something I know you can do. Let's get started.